Okay, looks like it's recording now.
Thank you. Today's June 30th, and I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm Peter Allen, Counselor for District 9, and this is a public information meeting. And to this point, no evaluation or decisions have been made at this point. And with us today is Mark Fredericks, who is the GSI planner, the applicant, Lori Rand, and the owners are Jeff Hobbolt and Beth McNeil, all with us. So we're going to have two presentations today, one by Mark Fredericks and then followed by Lori Rand. So Mark, when you're ready, you can start your presentation.
Sure. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. And so, yeah, we've got an application from Lori Rand on behalf of the owners of a property in Grand Pré, Jeff Humboldt and Beth McNeil. These folks live at 100 Beach Row or purchased the property at 100 Beach Row in Grand Pré. And they've applied for a development agreement to redevelop that property. There's an existing cottage, and I think they're looking to build a new home on the property. So the purpose of this meeting largely is to inform the public, surrounding landowners, and anyone with a community interest to review the planning policies that we consider and to receive some preliminary feedback from the surrounding community and neighbors. So we're located in the North Grand Pré area, close to Evangeline Beach, on the Minas Basin. Quite a beautiful, special place. The subject property is at the end of Beach Row, and this road has several homes and cottages on it. You can see in this area here. So the row, it's a private road, and it serves many cottages that have that kind of waterfront access in this area. And then the subject property, the applicant or the owners have this property here, which is a pretty special one at the end of the road. It looks like a beautiful spot. So the subject property is there, and they're looking to replace the existing cottage, as I understand, with a new house. And that's a trick in this situation because it doesn't have road frontage. So the request here is for permission from the municipality to replace an existing cottage with a new house. And that development agreement here is required because this property doesn't have public road frontage. It does have access to a private road, but that does not meet the municipal zone standards. And so this is a property in a situation where they cannot meet the minimum zone standards in order to receive a building permit from the municipality. So, you know, this situation is expected, and it's found in many places in Kings County. This is not a unique situation. Properties like this that are not able to meet this lot standards for road frontage at least, and other criteria as well. These situations do exist across Kings County. And in the shoreland zones, the municipal council recognizes that there's value in permitting single unit dwellings in this particular shoreland zone through a development agreement process, which allows us to look at that property specifically, consult the neighbors, and have some site-specific controls if necessary. So this ability to establish a development agreement for one unit dwelling on a lot where a single unit dwelling cannot reasonably meet the required lot standards is a situation that these folks find themselves in. So they're in the tidal shoreland zone and they can't meet the zone standards, but they are allowed to consider, or council is able to consider a development agreement that would permit that type of development for a one unit dwelling. So in these situations, council has some criteria that we look at in evaluating these specific development agreements. Council looks to maximize that the setback from the marine coast is maximized. We want to see that the proposed home is considering coastal erosion, and in some cases in Kings County, you know, that's happening quickly. And so there's a consideration here that the new home be built further back from the coast. And also we look for a survey of the top and the bottom of the bank. This is to establish kind of where are those now, how close are we proposing the building to be, because sometimes in some of these places, particularly in North Grand Pré, there is active coastal erosion and it is eroding, you know, at different rates in different areas, but certainly we want to establish a baseline at the point of permitting. So we look for that, and that has been submitted. Excuse me. And also we look at the general criteria as well. So whenever we do any kind of development agreement, we look at a set of general criteria. So those are the kind of criteria that council looks to. We'll look at these general criteria in a second, but specifically to this type of development agreement, we look for a setback from the coast being pushed back as far as is reasonable, and a survey to establish where the slope is, where is the top of the bank, and where is the average kind of low water mark. The general criteria, these are fairly broad. These apply to kind of, all sorts of developments. So some of these apply and some of them don't. For example, school recreation and community facilities. Well, if this was a multi-unit development proposal, that's sort of where some of these general criteria would have more relevancy. But generally, we still go through these criteria with every development agreement. We look to see, is it in keeping with the intent of the planning strategy, the intent of the kind of shoreland area? And we look at land use compatibility, and we look at potential traffic hazards, or traffic congestion. Again, with multi-unit development, sometimes these are real important items. But in all cases, we look for fire protection. So we consult with the municipality, reaches out to the local fire department to confirm adequate coverage. We look at sewer and water services. So sometimes those are centrally provided, sometimes those are provided on site. And we look at well fields and potential for flooding as well. Sometimes certain areas are close to water courses or other flooding scenarios. So this is the property with our zoning kind of overlaid. You can see the end of Beach Row is here. The subject property is highlighted in red. And the T1, this kind of blue zone, is this coastal or tidal shoreland zone. And the tidal shoreland zone does allow for cottages and homes, but in this case, it doesn't meet the zone standards. So it can't get a building permit right off the bat. But again, because it's in this T1 zone, it's eligible for this type of development agreement process. And that's kind of what we're looking to go through now. So within that property, that red property we were just looking at, this is the sort of design that has been proposed. This arrangement is great because it pushes the new home back further from the shoreline, and it removes a couple of the existing sheds that were also relatively close to the shore. So this kind of dotted line here is the existing cottage that's on the property, and this is the proposed home. And the driveway and the garage, and you can see many of those things are kind of pushed to the back of the property, considering that shoreline. So that's what we're looking to see. So this certainly meets that criteria that we looked at it earlier. And this will take us through the permitting process with this great site plan submitted by the applicant. And so really at this stage, we're just looking to share this information with the community and let them know that this is happening, and see if they have any questions. So this is a fairly early step in the process. We haven't reviewed all those criteria yet, but those points that we just reviewed will be compiled into a report, and that report will be considered by the Kings County Planning Advisory Committee. And that committee makes recommendations to municipal council, and so it goes through the approval process, which takes several months. So if you have any questions, if you're listening to this recording or watching this recording, and you have any questions, certainly over the summer or fall of 2021, you're welcome to reach out to me directly. This is my telephone number and email address on the screen here. With any questions, you can certainly reach out. And so with those slides shared, I think I would pass it back to the chair, Peter Allen.
Thank you, Mark. So Lori, you have a presentation at this time you'd like to present?
I don't necessarily need to share a presentation. I wasn't sure if the site plan was going to be shown in Mark's, so that was my intent. The one piece of information that I think I would like to add to this information that's been submitted is that knowing that this is a very vulnerable site in terms of erosion and exposure to storms, and incidentally, also it's experiencing significant issues related to runoff from the adjacent agricultural fields. And though they're on two sides, it's kind of got active farming happening. So we have engaged an external consultant, Rosemary Lonas, who is kind of a preeminent expert in coastal shoreline erosion mitigation. And so Beth and Jeff have engaged her services. Her company is called Helping Nature Heal. And they're already working with us. They've actually already actively been working on the site, so that as a collaborative effort, we are doing what we can to make sure that nothing that we do in this project impacts negatively the shoreline.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Lori. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'd just like to mention at this time that given that the presentation is being recorded and posted to the website, members of the public will have 30 days to review the posted presentation. And we'll be, just that we request that if you have any questions or comments, that you provide your name, address, and community when providing questions or comments to this. So at this time, that basically concludes the meeting. So I'd like to thank everyone that was present today. And if anyone have anything they would like to add at this time? If not, thank you for everyone that's here today, and nice meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We really
you.
appreciate your efforts.
Thanks, folks. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Beth.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Lori.
guys.